Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode about the movies with William Fletcher as Visual. I am your host, William Fletcher, and I'm joined this week again by the returning Skylar.
Hello.
But yeah, so this week is the annual Oscars episode. This is the how many times have I done this now? Sorry. Is this the fifth time I've done it? That would make sense. Yeah, this is the fifth annual Oscars special. So this is your first time doing one of the, if you're listening to one of these rather than Scott, this is your first time doing an Oscars episode. Well, I was telling you beforehand, but we cover the Best Picture nominees, all 10 of them. It's really annoying. There's 10 of them now, because that's just even more films to talk about. And then at the end, we'll sort of touch on the above the line categories, like the acting and screenplay and animated categories. But that will happen at the very end. But first, we're going to talk about the Best Picture nominees. Now, I haven't told you this, Skylar, but I don't go through the nominees in alphabetical order. I pick a completely different way to cover them. So, like, last year, I did it by runtime. We started with the longest film and went down to the shortest. 1 year I did by, like, the IMDb user score. So this year, I'm going to go by the box office gross, which is now we can go highest grossing or lowest grossing. We can start with, if you have a preference of which one you would like to start with. But I mean, do you have a preference if we start with lowest grossing or with highest grossing?
I don't care that much. My only thought would be that starting with highest grossing could be slightly less anticlimactic in a way, just because talking about Wicked is not that interesting.
Yeah.
But
I mean, do you have a preference, or do you want to start with highest grossing then? It's not like that's what you're trying to say.
That would be my input.
I know it's between those two. I'm just getting these open, and I know what I think. I know what lowest grossing is. I think I'm not going to say, but I think we know what it is.
Well,
so
that could also be
so the highest grossing is Wicked. So that will be, if you want to start with highest grossing and work downwards, we can start with that. If you don't want to end on Wicked.
Yeah, that's fine.
So Wicked, or Wicked Part 1, as it is, I think, technically called now. Although it was never called that before it came out, and then it came out, and the opening fucking like title card is Wicked Part 1. And I remember, so I saw this. I did see this in the cinema. Not have an ending. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't that excited for this film. The trailer came out. I thought it looked shit. Basically, I thought it looked really quite bad. I mean, I don't know. How did you feel like before you saw it? How did you feel about the film?
The trailer? I mean, in general, I guess I just was kind of indifferent. The trailer definitely didn't excite me. It didn't look great, that's for sure. I definitely could have seen it being like a reasonably fun movie, which I guess is kind of what we got. But yeah, I wasn't that excited about it. The trailer didn't seem that great, and I don't really have any personal attachment to the musical or the book for that matter. So I was kind of just indifferent for the most part, I would say. I mean, the cast looked pretty good and whatnot, but that was about it. I mean, I really like The Wizard of Oz a lot, of course, as everyone does.
I sort of, for the longest time, said I'm not going to pay to see Wicked. I'm not going to go see it in the cinema or anything. And then it came out. It got generally positive reviews from my memory.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people liked it. people were apparently crying when they saw it because I I don't like I how do I phrase this without sounding like a dick? I don't like it when people get overly emotional about films. In the sense of like I would never like if it's a sad film, like if it's something like Umbrellas of Cherbourg and you cry at that. That obviously makes
Yeah.
sense to me. I don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem when you're like watching like even as someone like me who likes Marvel films, I would never watch like a Marvel movie and be crying because oh my
Yeah.
god, it's this character that that I love coming back. I'd just be like, oh sick, it's that character I love, and I'd be happy. I wouldn't be
Mhm.
crying. I'd just be like,
Yeah.
'cause, I don't get that. And my mum, she was like, "Is it
Mhm.
going to be a sad movie?" Because she was seeing stuff all over TikTok of people crying over Wicked, and I'm like, I mean, no, I don't think it's actually sad. I think it's just people. It's like the people who go to Taylor Swift concerts and cry while she's performing. Like,
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
on, you know. And like, look, that sounds. I know that sounds a bit judgy of me, and maybe it is a bit. But I just don't. I could never see myself going to a concert and like an artist performing and I'm crying while watching it. Like I just don't get that. I
Yeah.
don't get that. Even if they're playing a sad song, I don't get that. And I so yeah, I just found the whole thing around Wicked annoying.
Mm.
Yeah, then I know a friend. He went to see it and he's not a big fan of musical, but he really liked the film. So I was like,
Mhm.
oh, maybe it might be too bad. So yeah, I saw it in the cinema. I didn't pay to go see it. My sister paid for me. So, and yeah, I saw it. It was a really packed screening when I went, and this was like a month and a half after it had come out. Like it was like
Yeah.
January this year. Like it was not close to the release. It was like January,
Mhm.
and it was a very packed screening, and I didn't. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Had some real problems that I did not, that really
Mhm.
just bothered me. But, like, on the whole, I didn't mind watching it. It doesn't bode well, though, because I've heard the second half of the story is kind of shit. And so that's not a good sign for me that I'll like it. Because if I thought this one was,
Yeah.
like, fine, I'm probably not gonna like the second part. Probably. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't necessarily have high hopes for part two. Well, for good, Wicked for good. We we
I,
must we
I,
we must clarify.
yeah, I mean, I like this more than I expected, but like, I mean, I'll to start with sort of what I didn't like. It's too
Mhm.
long, 2 hours 40 minutes,
Mhm.
and it could, which is longer than the stage show. Like, I wanna, if you
Yeah.
don't like, the stage show is like 2.5 hours plus intermission or something. Like, or
Yeah.
maybe with the intermission or something. Like, and this film is and it's just like watching it. There are so many scenes where I was just like,
Mhm.
I didn't need this. You could have cut so many elements out of this. Like,
Yeah.
there's whole characters that you could have just removed, and the film would have just been like so much better.
Mhm.
I thought Peter Dinklage's performance was awful, like actually really bad, and like I like Peter Dinklage. Like I'm not a big Peter Dinklage fan, but I am a Peter Dinklage fan. You
Yeah,
know,
of
like
course.
his like in Game of Thrones, he's
Yeah.
like one of the best parts of that show before it went to shit. I just don't think he works as a voice actor. I thought his vocal performance was really quite bad. Michelle Yeoh was also quite terrible, but I feel like
Mhm.
everybody says that. I wasn't a big fan of Ethan Slater's performance, which to us, I don't know how people think about that, but I know a lot of people don't like Ethan Slater, uh, for various reasons.
Yes,
Uh,
there's a lot of baggage there, yes.
yeah, there's a lot of baggage. I mean, we're probably going to get into this somewhat, but like every film nominated this year has some
Mhm.
controversy around it. and like
More or less.
90% of them, 90+% of them are just the dumbest shit. Yeah, Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater cheated on their partners. Allegedly.
Mhm.
I say allegedly.
Yeah.
I say allegedly. But like, I don't know.
It doesn't really matter.
Who
to,
cares? Like,
to
I don't give a like. Obviously, it's not. It's obviously not on. Like, there's obviously poor form on their part. But like, I don't know. In terms of the terrible things actors do in the industry, that's nothing. Like, cheating on your partner is like, I bet a lot of them do. Like,
yeah.
historically, people in the industry cheat on their partners. It happens all the time.
Mhm.
It's not like a big shock to me. And then there's the Cynthia Erivo stuff, which like the with the with
the
the
poster.
poster,
And,
which like was a whole, which should have even been anything. Like
mhm.
I think that I think regardless of whether you think she should have gotten upset or not, it's like it's a stupid fucking thing anyway. Like
yeah.
it doesn't matter to me. It's just like this whole thing of like and I swear, like every day there was a new controversy coming out about like every
yeah.
film nominated, from Anora to The Substance to Amelia Perez to fucking September 5 to I'm Still
Mhm.
Here to The Brutalist. Like every fucking movie had
Mhm.
some controversy. And like, I'm gonna be honest, besides the Amelia Perez stuff, every other controversy was just like, okay, Adrian Brody doing a stupid joke on SNL 20 years ago. Like, I don't know. It's not like a massive deal. Like it's like obviously it was a terrible joke, and I mean I don't think he should have done it. But it's just like I don't know. That was 20 years ago.
Mm.
I don't think there was like malicious intent in that. It was just like a stupid,
Right. Yeah.
shitty joke. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe you disagree. I don't know.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think those actions by themselves are pretty unconscionable and whatnot. But it was both cases, you know, a long time ago, people
yeah,
tolerated different things.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Like it's obviously not on. Like I'm not saying they should
yeah,
have done it because it's obviously not on.
right,
But it's like it
right.
was 20 years ago. Like I think that we
Yeah,
should
it's
give people the opportunity to change in 20 years. If
yeah,
you're
people can
yeah,
grow and apologize, and
yeah, and there was
and at the end of the day, it doesn't really impact the movies
no,
that
it's not
they're in.
relevant to the movie. It's not like he did blackface in the movie. Like that's a
Mhm.
whole. If he did it in the movie, that would be like completely justified. But it's a thing he did 20 years ago that is like, I don't know. It's like, and there's the whole Halle Berry thing, which like again, that's I think that's a bit worse, to be honest.
Mhm.
Forcing himself on someone on live TV, that's worse
Yeah,
than
that's
doing a stupid joke. I like again, I don't know what like the context, because Halle Berry like comments on his posts all the time, so I don't know if like they're friends now. Like I don't know what the behind the what their relationship is like now.
yeah,
Because maybe
yeah,
maybe they're on good terms now. I don't know.
yeah.
But it's obviously not on. But again, I don't know like what the context of what followed
Of
is.
course.
But Wicked, like I liked it more than disliking it. I'll say. I think that the
Mhm.
effects don't actually look that bad in the film. Like the trailers, they look really bad in the trailers. But then when I ended up seeing the film, it didn't stand out as much as like, oh, this actually doesn't look half
Mhm.
bad. And I thought a lot more of it was CGI than was, because it just looked so terrible. And then I saw like behind the scenes photos. I'm like, oh, they did like build sets. Like, there is a lot of like practical sets there.
Yeah.
Um, it just looked really bad in the trailers for some reason. I don't really get why. Yeah, I mean, there was Cynthia Erivo, who's the lead, getting nominated. I thought she was okay. I wasn't like massively blown away by her performance, but I thought that she did all right. But I wasn't blown away by it. I didn't come out of that film thinking, oh man, she needs an Oscar nomination for this. I
Right.
didn't walk out of the film thinking that. I was just sort of like, that was okay. That was a decent performance.
Hmm.
And I've not really seen her in much else that I can like compare directly to.
Revo and Grande are, I think they're good. And I mean, that's about it. I guess I'm not super impassioned about either of them. Um,
Mhm.
I think Grande is funny, and I mean that's one of the film's strongest assets in general. Like it's pretty funny. It's funny and fun to watch. I
Mm.
maybe Arivo is like is like the more well-rounded performance. I think she makes the dramatic moments, feel more weighty than like Grande does. Like
Mm.
like Ariana Grande feels a little bit out of her element, like near the end. Um, with like the big defying gravity sequence and
Yes, which was
like
the big ending.
yes, which I would say, you know, to her credit that Cynthia Erivo, does well in that moment, which isn't unsurprising coming from like you know, a, a very experienced Broadway actress. Whereas Ariana Grande seemed a bit like she wasn't fully in with the drama. Like I don't know, it's hard to put words on it. I feel like there's something with her eyes that it felt
Yeah.
kind of shallow. um
Mhm.
but otherwise I was enjoyed her performance. I think she has really good comedic timing, whereas Arivo maybe has less of the comedic chops, but made the made the dramatic moments feel more tangible.
Mhm.
The rest of the ensemble, I really don't care about for the most part. I mean, Jonathan Bailey's sufficiently charming in his
Yeah,
couple
I
scenes.
think I like Jonathan Bailey. I liked him in it. I thought he was good.
I
I
mean,
did think Grande was excellent in the film.
yeah, and that's
Um,
fair. Yeah.
I didn't expect that because all my knowledge of Ariana Grande as an actor was when she was doing Nickelodeon shit, like 10 years ago, when she was like Sam and Cat and Victorious and all that.
Yeah.
I didn't expect her to turn out like and give like an Oscar caliber performance
Support the grand. I would say
for
maybe
Grande.
if I was if I was held at gunpoint, I might say Arrivo gives a better performance on paper, but then like the Grande nomination, I support more just because of like the category and the competition. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I think it's a fun movie. The singing's really good, which is not a given in musicals this year. So that's nice when this movie musical and the singing's actually good.
And I thought like the
And
choreography between
yeah,
the like were actually quite good.
yeah,
There's like the scene where they're in like the library and there's like the spinning like wheels
yeah,
of the books, and I thought like that was a really fun scene.
yes, yeah. I would say the choreography is really good, and it's also captured well. I would say, like,
Mhm.
not that I'm like saying John that Chu like deserved a directing nomination, but the choreography is it's the choreography
Mm.
is directed well.
Yeah, I mean, Wicked. It's fine. The defying gravity scene could have been really great. They just sort of keep starting and stopping.
Yeah,
They
it's
they
very
start
drawn out.
thing, and I was like, huh. I could have gone to the bathroom and they still wouldn't be done. They'd be like halfway through the song.
Yeah, it's very
And I
drawn
mean,
out.
yeah, it's a very, I mean, and it's a very long film. Like, I will be honest, I didn't get massively bored while watching it. I was just sat
No,
there
yeah,
thinking, no, I don't need all of this, guys.
yeah,
We're going on for far too long. This
yeah,
doesn't need to be. We don't need
yeah,
this. We don't need this. You could have done this entire film, the entire story in 3 hours,
mm,
and we'd be done. Like,
yeah.
that's fine. I'd rather watch one 3 hour film than watch like two-hour and a half 2.5 hour film.
Of
I'd much
course.
rather just watch a long film that I can watch in like a single sitting than have to be
Mhm.
like, well, gotta wait for a year now. And then yeah, the film doesn't have an ending, which I complain about so many times on this show. It's so annoying that I keep having to say And I know some people are like, well, that like it's just like the film doesn't have an ending. It just doesn't, and it's really
Mm-mm.
bothersome to me. It's like I did Lord of the Rings like a few months ago on the show. They don't have endings. Like the first two don't have endings, and then the third one has like 20. You know, Across the Spider-Verse doesn't have an ending. I'm trying to think of like other two-part films. Dune. I'll save my feelings on Dune in a minute, actually, because we're going to get to it real soon. I just don't get it. I just don't understand why. I just don't get why someone is happy to watch like half a story and be like, "Yep, that was a good movie," and even though there's no ending.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I know there's the stage musical, everything, but I'm not taking it like I sort of look at it as like, but this isn't a stage musical I'm watching. I'm watching a film. Like this film has to stand on
Yeah.
its own. It's like when people complain about something. Oh, like why did this thing doesn't make any sense? So it's like we got to read the book. Actually, it's like no, I shouldn't. That's not how this works.
Hmm.
If you're adapting something, you should make it work without having to know the other material. Because I bet a lot of people. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I think a lot of people who did see Wicked are fans of the show. Like they are fans of the stage show, so they know everything.
Definitely. Yeah.
But like, I'm not. I've never listened to it. I have no interest in it. I find the idea just very dull. Like, it's just the idea of like, oh, maybe this villain was actually a nice person all along, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. I don't care. It's done now. We've done that too many times. I'm fine with villains just being assholes who are just bad people. Like I'm fine with that. I don't need this to be like we don't need to be pulling back the layers, digging into who these
Hmm.
characters are. So, but I'm complaining a lot because there are lots of issues with it. But I didn't hate watching it. I thought some of the bits were quite funny, mainly just the Ariana Grande stuff though, because like obviously. But yeah, I thought it was like perfectly fine. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again, just because it is 2 hours and 40 minutes, and there's no ending, and it's just
Yeah.
like I can't. I mean, I can barely justify watching films of that length that I love, much less someone
Right.
I'm kind of indifferent on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll say this: Wicked is definitely not my least favorite in the best picture
Oh,
lineup.
yeah. Definitely not.
There are films that are. Oh, we're gonna get to some films that are a lot worse. But I mean, I give it a 6. Because I
Yeah.
liked it more than disliking it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I've always been between like a 6, like a high 6, low 7 on it. I think it's a
Yeah.
thoroughly fun movie.
Mm.
Weirdly paced, kind of ugly sometimes, but like not boring and generally well done for the most
Yeah.
part.
Mm.
In most technical ways beyond beyond the way it's shot.
Yeah.
Well, beyond it's not shot poorly, like in terms of capturing the choreography, just with how the coloring and lighting looks.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Visually, it's not.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
That
a
makes
it's a it's a fun time, and I get
mm.
why it was like a cultural sensation. Like, of course it
Yes.
was.
Next up, what do you think is the? I mean, I feel like you know what the next one is.
Yeah, Dune. Yeah.
It's Dune Part 2. So I'm gonna call the listeners if you haven't heard or you haven't heard in a while.
Hmm.
I talked about Dune, the first one when it came out for that year's
Hmm.
Oscars ceremony. I am not a fan of Dune. I think the first Dune film is shit. That's the basically that's how I'm just gonna be.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm not a fan of Dune. The first one. I think it is terribly paced. It's like 2.5 hours. There's no ending. The characters are basically non-existent. It looks like visually, I was not impressed by it visually. It's just lots of dull browns and grays. Like it just doesn't look very appealing. The
Hmm.
score I found really annoying. So yeah, but I went into Dune Part 2 with like I wouldn't say excitement or
Hmm.
anticipation. I wouldn't use those words, but I went in thinking I can see this one being better. Because
Mm-hmm.
as far as I understood, there's going to be an ending on this film. It'll wrap up nicely. And I mean, the best way I can explain how much I didn't like this film, there was a guy in the row ahead of me who was sexting with someone, and that was somehow more engaging. I couldn't read what he was saying. I was just like, oh, he's messaging someone. I was like, okay. And then he got sent pictures, and I'm like, okay, I can't look anymore. That's not my like that's not for me to see. But like, I fucking hated this film. I really didn't like this film at all. I was bored out of my mind watching this film. It was so yeah.
Mm.
I thought it sucked really. And I know that's like
Mhm.
controversial, and I know people love this film, but like, I don't know, man. People also like fucking Coldplay. Like people, you know, like, and people voted for the Nazis. Like it's not like people's like, you can't trust people. And that's not that is from a TV show, but I think it's apt here.
Yeah.
It's just like, I just don't get it. I don't get why people like this film. I really don't. I don't think I've talked to to anyone who likes this film, and I mean, I don't. I hope you like this, so you can maybe try and explain why I should like it. But I just don't get why people are so obsessed with Dune. Like,
Mhm.
the film is just so like, there's just nothing to it. It's just like, yeah, I've seen Star Wars, and I know the sort of retort is like, oh well, this is, inspired Star Wars. And I'm like, I mean, the book inspired Star Wars. These films did not. Boring, and I don't care for this like chosen one narrative shit. And I don't care for this like royal family bloodline stuff that they're doing, because
Mhm.
I think monarchies are fucking pointless and stupid.
I mean, maybe I'm not the best one to sell the Dune movies because, like, I I will say I've enjoyed watching them in the past. Well, and now, I guess. But I think they're good. I think they're considerably good, technical marvels and whatnot. The world building, at least on the surface, is interesting, but and I guess I can talk about both kind of jointly because I really like feel the same way about both for the most part. Like from what I haven't read the book. Obviously,
No,
it's a very famous, beloved novel. From what I've heard, it mostly follows the blueprint of the novel, but the way they split it and execute the story. The pacing is off, like the pacing is inconsistent, and it never
yeah,
really feels like they're digging too far beneath the surface with like the characters or the themes or the dialogue in
yeah.
terms of what they're
Yeah. It doesn't
like. I don't
feel
know.
like these films are saying anything.
Like honestly, I mean, when I first watched part two, I kind of not agreed with everyone else, but bought into the idea that the second one was kind of was maybe an improvement because
Mm.
it's more action packed and exciting and whatnot,
Yeah.
and
No,
and you
I've yeah.
kind of
But
get more of a satisfying climax of sorts.
mm.
Although with time, I although with time, honestly, the second one holds kind of less weight for me. Um,
Mm.
the first movie is slower, which isn't always great, but and there's still key parts that feel like way too fast.
Mm.
But there's a, a sense with the first one that you're kind of just naturally living amongst the world and you're kind of soaking up the world building in a more free flowing manner. The story will come later, but for now, just just soak
Mm.
up the vibes. And I can
Mm.
kind of get behind that more so than in part two, where it's very action packed, but at a certain point, it really feels like it's like rushing. Like there was some really dramatic character shifts with like Lady Jessica and Paul,
Mm.
and then you have like the Emperor and his daughter. Is that like Florence Pugh? Is that his daughter? I can't remember.
I
um,
think so. I'm
Like,
gonna be honest. I completely forgot about this.
like all
This
of a
film
sudden,
left my mind the moment I walked out of the cinema.
like all of a sudden, it feels like there's a lot of different colliding like plots and concepts coming together all at once, and it doesn't really feel like any of them are like thoroughly explored. They're just kind of stating how, you know, how Paul is the chosen one, but also maybe he's not, and maybe this was all rigged. And like, I think it's interesting idea. I think it's very interesting concepts that it's posing,
Yeah.
but it kind of just stops. So I guess that's kind of how I feel about part two, where it is more action packed and kind of thrilling in the moment, but then it's not very satisfying with the quote unquote realizations it makes with its characters and themes. Like it
Mhm.
makes realizations, but they're just very they're kind of obvious, kind of shallow, um,
Mhm.
kind of generic commentary on like the dangers of trusting like this egotistical leader who's like a quote unquote chosen one, and like
But it's
the whole white savior plot that it's obviously indulging in order to subvert it. It doesn't feel like it does a good enough job. But I mean, overall, I enjoy both movies. It's kind of spectacle driven, soulful ish world building movies, but I don't think it completely nails the characters or themes ever. But I mean, Dune Part Two, I thought it was like enjoyable in the moment and had some interesting ideas. It just it's kind of been fleeting for me with time, because it felt like it didn't really stick the landing with its themes very, very convincingly. Um,
mm,
Maybe it follows this blueprint of the book, but it felt like it was missing a lot of the meat of the story. Maybe the book is secretly not that deep, but
mhm.
people seem to really be infatuated with it. So
Yeah.
I think something just got lost in translation.
Yeah. The film just like I didn't I'm gonna be like kind of honest. I don't know if I'm like if I think Timothée Chalamet is a like a great actor or not. I don't know. I think he's great in Call Me by Your Name,
Mhm.
and I liked him in Beautiful Boy, but I don't know if I'm convinced on him besides that.
I definitely think he's a capable actor, and obviously, I'm like a major fan of his "Call Me by Your Name" performance. I mean, I guess he's kind of. I just have felt he's a bit hit or miss with depending on the role, and not always the most interesting. Not always necessarily his fault. Like the Dune movies don't have incredibly in-depth characterization, so I can only pin it on his performance so much. I don't think he's bad. He has some
Mhm.
strong moments in the movies, but I don't care.
The problem was I went into the film and I'm like, cool, 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 cool. And I'm like, man, this is really boring, but hey, we're getting close to the end. And then there's just no ending. And I
Yeah.
was just like,
Yeah.
you know, this is unacceptable to me. You can't you can't do that. You can't. And I'm like, I know there's like a third. I don't know, because from my understanding, this is adapting the second half of the first book. So
Yeah.
it's basically telling me the book doesn't have an ending either, which is just like. And now Denis Villeneuve is going to be doing Dune Messiah. Is that the next one?
Yeah, that's
Um,
the
which I'm
second
gonna be
book.
honest, I probably won't watch unless it gets Best Picture nominated for Best Picture because I just don't care. Yeah, it was an absolute dirge of a film to watch. It just felt so bad. Also, I just want to say Austin Butler, I think, is a terrible actor. I thought he was really quite bad. There's that scene, the black and white scene where he's in the arena, which like could be a really cool scene, but I couldn't get into it because I thought he was quite bad and just wasn't selling what he was doing. Yeah, I give Dune a 4, maybe a tad harsh. But I hate it, so I don't care. And this is the low point of this Best Picture lineup for me. It's going to be,
And
which I know is
fascinating.
going to
People will be
upset
angry.
so many people because there's one film that is, I think, one of the lowest rated Best Picture nominees on Letterboxd. It might be the lowest rated Best Picture nominee.
I don't know. Yeah, it's very close to being the
I will
lowest.
say though, I think it's only getting that low of a score. I don't think that film would be getting as low a score if it wasn't nominated for Best Picture. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
It's getting. I think people will review bombing it.
Oh yeah, there's definitely hate coming in a lot of directions. I'll just stick to my 7 out of 10, which I'm sure
very
is way too high for you. But
That's
I
very
mean,
generous of you.
but I like the movies. I like both. I like them. That's it.
It was at one point in my bottom 5 of last year. It's not anymore, but it's in my bottom 6, so it's still like basically near the bottom. So what do you think is the next highest grosser?
Is it our our fellow Chalamet nominee, A Complete Unknown?
It is. It's considerably lower though. Like Dune grossed 700 something
Yeah.
million. Complete Unknown grossed 100 million. So not as well.
It's a flop. Yeah.
Complete Unknown. I was aware they were making this film. I just didn't think it was gonna. I didn't think it was gonna come out this year. Honestly, I thought because they started filming it this year. I
Yeah,
think.
it was very surprising. Yeah.
And
Yes,
I
it
was
was
like,
filming
okay,
like this
cool.
spring.
I was like, okay, they're gonna film it. It's gonna be an Oscars thing next year. Cool, cool, cool. And then we just get the announcement. Like, I don't remember how long ago they announced it was coming out.
Yeah, like September, October. It was very abrupt.
Yeah, so I'm just reading here. They were supposed to start principal photography in August 2023, but it was postponed because of the strikes. And then filming was scheduled to begin in March 2024, and they wrapped shooting by June 2024, which is just like that's 6 months before it's gonna come out. Like that's a very quick
Yeah.
turnaround, guys. Like
Yeah, very quick.
that's very quick. Apparently, Timothy Chalamet was apparently relentless about staying in character as Dylan. And yeah, he was often referred to as Bob, and he's listed as Bob Dylan on the call sheet, which just is so irritating to me. I fucking hate this method actor shit like people do. Like I just don't get it. Like I look, Daniel Day-Lewis, yeah, I think it's unnecessary. But also, he does give us fucking great performances. Like Daniel Day-Lewis in
Right.
There Will Be Blood is a
Right.
phenomenal performance. Christian Bale is a bit of an asshole, but he's a great actor. So it's this thing of I don't care for it, and I can't imagine dealing with it because I just think method is stupid. And I just don't. I think it's a lot of the time actors. I just have to assume you must just be an asshole to do this. And I know I've talked about some people that's oh, I've never heard people say Daniel Day-Lewis is an asshole, but I'm like, yeah, but he totally if you're gonna stay in character and be that
Yeah.
immersed in it, you kind of are. He's not as bad as a Christian Bale, who's yelling at crew members because they're walking behind the camera, or he's not like a Jared Leto sending dead rats to people, it's just I just think you're a bit of an asshole for doing that. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't care for that. And it's just this thing of why do you have to stay immersed as Bob Dylan? This isn't a trying role. This isn't a role where you're gonna be yelling about drinking people's milkshakes or where you have to get super fucking skinny or anything. It's
yeah. It's pretty casual.
It's not it's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly adequate performance, but it's just
Yeah, was it
It
worth
shouldn't
all the
be.
effort? Yeah.
It shouldn't be number 2 to win Best Actor. I'm just gonna be honest.
No.
And I mean,
No.
I swear to God, if he does fucking win, I'll just be like, no, this isn't. It'd be boring and like, I mean, just looking at what performances have been nominated, they're all better. Like all the other
Yeah,
performances, I'd say are better. Like they're all like
sure.
actually pretty, good,
Pretty
if not great
strong,
performances. Yeah,
yes.
but I mean, yeah, we've got Timothée Chalamet, we've got
Mhm.
Monica Barbaro, who was nominated for supporting actress, which I just thought was very, very bizarre because it's just like I didn't expect it. I was just kind of like, oh, we're right.
Yeah, I mean, it kinda came out of nowhere, but
Yeah,
I'm not, like, mad about it.
yeah, she was the one that I didn't predict. I predicted the other four, and I was like, it's not going to be Barbara. I thought it was going to be Curtis because I just thought, well, this just seems like a thing. She got SAG and she got BAFTA. Like, that just makes
Yeah.
sense to me. And then she didn't happen, and I was like, good, I don't have to watch that film at least. I thought Monica Barbaro was probably the best performance in the film, though, to be honest. Like, even though I
I
didn't need her
actually
to get a
agree, yeah.
nomination, I just thought she was the best
Yeah.
performance
I
in a
think yeah.
yeah.
I think she had a really good stage presence. Well,
Yeah.
not stage presence, that's not the right word. The screen
Mhm.
presence. Um,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
like her writing in the writing of her character wasn't that detailed or anything, but
Yeah.
she commanded the room very well, I would say.
Yeah. Edward Norton, who I love Edward Norton as an actor. I think he's a
Hmm.
phenomenal talent. He wasn't that great in this, to be honest. I was gonna, he wasn't. He was fine, but
Yeah.
like he was. I just didn't need him to get Oscar nominated, and I also
Yeah.
didn't need to see get Oscar nominated. James Mangold was just like, I was sitting there. I was watching the nominations, and I was like, okay. And then it said James Mangold. I'm like, oh, some people are going to be losing their shit at this moment. Like, some people are going to be like, what the fuck is this? It wasn't the biggest surprise that Oscar nominations. Well, yeah, to that, but it was just like, and I mean, if they wanted to nominate a musical biopic from last year, they could have nominated the Robbie Williams film Better Man, which is like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not an amazing film either, but it's a better film, and it's like
Yeah.
actually a decent bit of fun in places. Like the musical sequence in Better Man are excellent. I don't know. It makes sense that a complete unknown would get nominated. Like it is an Oscar bait film. I remember just sitting there. I saw it in the cinema. It was like the day nominations came out, but like because of how time zones work, it was going to be at like 11 p.m. at night. So I watched it like
Hmm.
the day of, and I'm like, okay. And in that moment, I was like, this is going to be the last film that gets nominated for Best Picture that I've got to tick off. I thought, like, regardless of what happens, I'm going to have seen them all. If it's Sing Sing or A Real Pain or Nickel Boys in those last two slots, I've seen all of them. Plus, I've seen like what I perceive as like the top eight. And if not,
Hmm.
like September 5 will probably be out. Is like will be out soon, so I can watch that. And that didn't happen. But I just remember being there like, and that's kind of the only reason I would have watched it really, was because it was Oscar nominated. I really don't have much to say on it. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I
how I
don't
feel.
care. I don't care about
It's yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's less egregious than some other music biopics. Yeah, like it's competently made for the most part, and the actors are good, if not nomination worthy for the most part. And I'm interested in this era of music that it's about, so like I got some sort of, casual enjoyment out of it. I was
it.
like, yes, these are good songs. And
Yeah,
then that was it. That was about it.
yeah.
Like I watched it with my dad and he was like, "That was good," and I was like, "Yeah, it was pretty good," and that
It's
that was
yeah.
like that was it.
It is kind of a dad movie, but it's like I think there are like because I'm gonna be honest, there's very few musical biopics that I would like to actually see get made. Just in terms of like artists I'd
Yeah,
like to see. Like I would be interested in a David Bowie film, but I feel like they'd have to censor it somewhat, like in the way that they did with Bohemian Rhapsody, and that would be like the issue.
That's not
Yeah,
bad.
I give it a
And
6, but it's
yeah,
lower than Wicked because Wicked at least had some fun stuff in it.
yeah, I would agree. It's a pretty classic 6.
Uh, so what do you think's the next highest grossing?
It's either Conclave or The Substance. I can't remember which is higher now. I'll guess
Mhm.
Conclave. I'll guess
It is
Conclave.
Conclave.
Okay.
95.5 million on a $20 million budget.
Wow.
So that's
I didn't realize it
pretty,
got that high. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, Conclave, Edward Berger's follow up to All Quiet on the Western Front. I
Oh.
really liked All Quiet on the Western Front. Yeah, no, I do like. I actually quite liked Conclave. I do. I thought it was pretty pretty good. I like stuff where it's just people talking for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. I like this whole sort of like these priests just fucking gossiping to each other for 2 hours and being like, "Oh, that guy, he's a bit of a prick. That guy is." There's like always something, you know. There's that scene where it's oh, what's Fine's character called again? I don't remember what his character.
Cardinal Lawrence, right?
I think it's Cardinal Lawrence. That sounds right. And he's talking to Tedesco. Is that the vaping priest?
I don't know. I can't. What's his?
Yeah, Tedesco. Yeah, that's the
Yes, yes, that
and
sounds
then
right.
they're
Yes.
just talking. He's like talking about all the different like the other cardinals, and he makes a joke about the
Mm-hmm.
French, and that got a big laugh at my screening. My center thought that was really funny, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty fun. I was surprised at how funny I found this film. Yeah, there was a lot more sort of moments of comedy than were like expected. Because I haven't read the book. I know the book is I think a very well, not well, like not like a massively beloved book, but it is a liked book.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
crowd pleaser. Yeah.
and I mean, I quite liked the film. The ending is a choice. I don't know if I like it or not, but I did really like the film. I think I preferred it to All Quiet on the Western Front. I mean, I've been. I mean, how do you feel about the film?
I mean, I guess the easiest way for me to say it, very eloquently, of course, is that Conclave is pretty much it's a good vibe. It's entertaining to watch them gossip about each other. The concept of like politics and corruption within the Catholic Church is a cool idea. The varying degrees of thought and kind of promoting progressivism within the Catholic Church, like that's a cool thing. Finds gives a very good performance, very restrained believe believable and pretty emotive.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Everyone else has their cute little scenes.
Mhm.
I love the vaping priest and
He's
and
my he was my favorite. He was my favorite priest. Just
and
there's that scene where they're all like arguing, and it's this big intense scene, and
yeah.
everyone's just telling their sides, and he just pulls out the vape, and like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
like the vaping priest.
yeah, of course, everyone must. And then like Diaz gets some strong moments. Like in terms
Mm,
of performance, he's probably like the second best. Everyone else, they get their nice little scenes. The ending is a bit. I guess it's hard for me to speak objectively about the ending because I knew it was going to happen because I had it
uh,
spoiled to me
uh,
before.
well, yeah,
Um,
I didn't know that, so it
um,
plays a real shock
so
to me.
I
It's like,
knew it
oh,
was I knew it was coming.
mhm,
So I don't know how that impacted my viewing, but I would
mhm,
say like it's kind of a silly, like I get what it's going for. Um,
mm,
and like the message it's trying to send, and it's not a bad message by any means,
yeah,
but like the whole concept is kind of not cartoonish, but it's a bit naive and silly, I would say.
Yeah, one of the elements I really did like about the film was they're trying to do this whole like, oh, we're like trying to portray themselves as like progressives and not as bigots, and I thought that was really interesting. Just sort of the
Yeah.
ethical conversations that were being had, because I saw this with a friend of mine, and he was like, oh, is it going to be like pro religion? And I'm like, I don't think so, and I think like. Because I don't think the film is like a pro-religion film. I think
No.
it does a good job showing like both, like sort of showing the different sides of it, and
Yeah,
because it's
and it
not
does a
really about the religion. It's not
no,
really
it's
about
not.
religion.
It's not about.
It's
At least
kind of
it's
just
not.
like a bit of a
It's not
political thriller almost in the
right.
church.
It's not about religion in the sense that it's not like about the validity of Catholicism. It's just like these different it's like the humanity and the diversity of thought behind the institution, and like it's a cool thing to see done, and it's done pretty well. And I like the kind of, I guess, the thesis of the whole thing is that like like religion and social progress can coexist, and don't have to be opposed to each other. Like that's a nice message, and I think that's kind of the point of it all. I guess my main complaint would be beyond the ending kind of being a bit naive and silly at the expense of being like quote unquote subversive. I guess I guess that is my complaint, but my complaint would be that it's almost a bit too quaint of a way they wrap it up, where it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, the good guys prevail, and it's like
yeah.
we had this hiccup, and now everything's good. Which for a movie about political corruption and people striving for power over all else, it seems a bit childish.
I was
Yeah, that's a
really
bit
into
goofy.
all the sort of political stuff beforehand, where it's like there's this guy, he's really well loved, he would be a great pope, but then they find out that he like had a relationship with like a girl, like this,
Yeah,
affair or whatever it was. So they're like, okay, we can't vote for you now. Like they've got to go through all this, like, but they're like, you can't have Tedesco win
because he
because
vapes.
like, because he fakes. No, but like he's a massive bigot. Like it's just this whole idea of like how do we do this? But I really
Mhm.
liked it. I thought on the whole the performance is really good. And then yeah, there was Stanley Tucci, who I remember was like people were considering him or John Lithgow. And like
Yeah,
coming out of it again, I was like, I feel like it's gonna be if either of them's gonna get nominated, it's gonna be Tucci over Lithgow. I was like,
yeah,
Lithgow's not gonna happen in any world. And yeah, Ray Fiennes, I think he's a great actor. Good.
yeah.
I think
Obviously,
it's a deserved nomination. I would say.
yeah, he's quite great. He's obviously the highlight.
I really liked it. I thought it was great. One of my favorite nominees this year. And I believe Berger's next film is due to come out like this year. Like he's already got another
Yeah,
film due to
with
come out.
Netflix. Yeah,
Ugh,
yeah.
why do
It
people
sounds
keep
interesting.
making shit with Netflix though? Like Netflix suck. Like
Yeah,
Netflix is
it does.
Ballad of a Small Player though. I think is
Yeah,
the
it's
film.
another book.
Of course,
It sounds interesting. I mean, by the book, it sounds kind of kind of noir, kind of ghosty. I don't know how much it will be that,
yeah.
but
Got Colin Farrell and Tilda
mhm.
Swinton. Well, I love Colin
Yes,
Farrell,
two great actors.
and I think
Yes,
Tilda Swinton is decent. But
yeah,
I give Conclave an 8. I think it's
nice.
very good. I don't know if it is anymore, but it certainly was in my top 10 of the year. Let me just check. It is in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah, I'll stick with my my trusty 7, but I do quite enjoy it quite a lot.
What do you think is the
Next,
next
the
highest grossing?
substance. The
It
substance.
is $77 million.
Impressive.
Which is pretty good. Yeah, it premiered at Cannes, I believe.
Yes,
Was
and
very
one
well liked.
screenplay.
Yes, very well liked coming out of Cannes. Came out in like September, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, very well beloved, and I remember people were like predicting it to get nominated at the Oscars, and I'm like, no, no, that's not gonna happen. I just didn't buy it. I felt like this isn't like a Get Out situation where like I can see why Get Out would get nominated. Like I just like the substance. It's not gonna happen. I was wrong. I was wrong about that. It just started getting nominated everywhere. It got like 6 nominations at the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
It got what? Picture, director, actress, supporting actress, screenplay. Yeah,
Right.
it did
Yeah.
really well. Yeah, it did really well at the Golden Globes. Did decently well at like SAG. Far Short got nominated at BAFTA, I believe.
Yes.
There was a lot of hype around the substance. People saying, "Oh, it's amazing! It's this great film," and I was like, "Okay." And I saw it, and I quite liked it. But I think the problem with it is like I went in and I watched it knowing like just thinking like this is going to be like a fun horror film. I think if
Hmm.
I'd gone in knowing that this is nominated for Best Picture, I don't know if I would have liked it as much. Just because,
Hmm.
like, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like A Different Man kind of did a lot of similar things and kind of did them a bit better. Like, because The Substance is basically the picture of Dorian Gray. Like, that's basically what the film is. It's the picture of Dorian Gray, just with like body standards. Which, like, look, I
Yeah.
think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think a lot of people are getting something deeper from this film, and I don't think there is. I think the film is very much like it's like Barbie, where
Yeah.
I really liked Barbie. I thought Barbie was a really good film. I don't think Barbie is that deep of a film, though. I think Barbie,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people were acting like it is this massively deep film, and I just didn't get that. I just sort of, and that's fine. Like, I don't need every film to be deep. I'm perfectly fine with watching very obvious films that like beat you over the head with their messages. I like Adam McKay's films, for example. And his films aren't exactly subtle. I like his.
Right.
I don't need it to be a subtle film. I just think people treating it like it's this amazing masterwork of a film, and Demi Moore deserves Best Actress.
Yeah.
It's that thing of like I like the film, but the way people talk about it makes me not want to like it. Like Demi Moore's performance, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's good even. I would go as far as to say it is a good performance. Margaret Qualley is better in the same movie, and like Demi Moore should not be winning Best Actress. Like, I'm sorry, she just isn't. It's not a good enough performance to warrant that, in my opinion. Like
Hmm.
I just don't get that. Last year Emma Stone won. Emma Stone, phenomenal performance, fully deserving of that. Year before that,
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh winning. It's a good win. I would have preferred Blanchett personally. I would have preferred Blanchett, but like Yeoh winning, it is a good win. It's just
Yeah.
Blanchett was better to me. This year will just be like I don't get it. And there's
Yeah.
this whole sort of, I guess, narrative around like, oh, she's never bit, which is just like, yeah, that's fine. And I get that like can become a thing, but it's like, I don't know, I don't care for that, really.
Hmm.
Like I don't. I think that it's just sort of very like yeah, it is a decent performance. It's
For
not best of the
sure.
year good.
Yeah.
Um, and if it just seems like this year it's gonna end up where the categories, maybe depending if things change, are gonna go to like the actual best performances in the category, while the actress categories are not. They're gonna go to one of
Uh,
the lesser.
Perhaps.
Are you okay? It sounds like you're yawning a lot on that.
I did. I did yawn a little bit, but we're
But
good.
I do like the substance. Don't get me wrong. I do like it. I just don't know if it should be winning anything beyond makeup.
I mean, I agree. I I also went into the substance. Well, not went into it. Came out of it. Not really buying it as a major awards player. I mean, in retro, I guess in hindsight, you can understand things like that. Like how obviously, like it's a social commentary and a very fun movie that kind of went viral in a way. Like I'm sure the
Mhm.
box office element definitely helped it out with getting recognition. But I mean, it was hard to know for sure if the industry would be like, yes, we
Mhm.
think this is actually worth voting for until they
Mhm.
did. But anyway, uh, I mean, I agree that the substance works much better as like a fun genre exercise
Yes.
than it does as like some super deep um, commentary on aging and how society views women. I mean, I think obviously the film's completely valid in its message, and
Yeah.
it doesn't
I'm not.
even need no, of course, and yes, I'm sure we we agree, and I don't even think it needs to be like super subtle necessarily. Like it's an obvious message, but it's a pretty black and white issue. I guess like it's not like an incredible screenplay. It's kind of in a way it's a bit repetitive of just kind of harping on the same blanket statements over and over again. Um, but I think Moore and Quali are quite great. Um, I mean, more if Moore
Mhm.
wins, which is definitely very possible, perhaps even probable, maybe very probable. Um, Although I do, I'll hold out my sliver of a hope for Mikey Madison. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's a very fun movie. Obviously, the makeup effects are quite insane. It's stylish. It's like it's edited well. Um, it's very sleek and exciting. Maybe a bit long, but I do like how it really just keeps ramping up in the final act and gets
Mhm.
more and more insane, more and more
Yeah.
outrageous. Yeah, I think it's a very fun movie with an admirable message. But I mean, the Barbie comparison makes sense for sure. It's
Yeah.
like this is like a pretty ideologically simple comedy focused movie that's just very fun to watch. Um, and that's cool. That's fine. Um, I guess I would say I don't want to call it a Cronenberg knockoff in any way because
Mm.
Farja has her completely own style. But I will say, like, someone like Cronenberg in the past has kind of used the body horror template to come up with more complex messages than the substance does. Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, the substance feels like a very natural way to use body horror that we haven't really seen yet,
Mhm.
at least in terms of, womanhood and female beauty standards. Like, it's a
Mhm.
cool idea to do it, and it worked well.
Again, another controversy. Farshad apparently a
Yes.
Zionist. That not great,
Yes.
not
No.
great. And I saw the posts that she liked. I was like, oh, that's really quite despicable. Actually, that's really quite an awful thing to be putting
Yeah.
out there into the world.
We don't
Um,
condone that. And of course, there's
no,
the Demi Moore fiasco
yeah, where she
of
kissed a 15
years
year old
ago.
as
But
yeah a 19-year-old, which I don't know. I've heard people say it wasn't like an actual like kiss, which is just like I don't know,
uh,
man. I mean
it's
I don't
not
know.
great.
I
But
don't
yeah.
know. It's I mean it's not. Yeah, I mean she's still you know he's if doing something to a 15-year-old. It's just this sort of like, okay, so now we don't care because she's only 19. It's not that big a deal, guys. She's only 9. Like I don't know. It just feels a bit
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's like people like sort of are moving the goalposts if it's a person they like. It's like, oh, we can't like Adrian Brody because of a stupid joke he did 20 years ago. Oh, but Demi Moore, it's okay that she kissed an underage person even though she was 19. It's not that big of a, it's like I
Mhm.
don't know. It's like it's just this. I don't, you know, it's just
Yeah, I
this
mean,
whole
whatever, but
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
but
I do like the substance.
it, yeah,
It feels very shallow. not shallow per se. It just feels like it's not. There's nothing deeper to it, but people are
It's
acting
a
like it.
simple message. It's a
Yeah, but
simple
people
message,
think
but
it's so deep and so profound. It's like it's really not, guys. It's pretty blatant in what it's doing, and
yeah,
that's fine.
it's not subtle, and
Yeah,
but it
I don't
works
care
for
about
what
that.
it.
That's fine,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I don't think it's and it's just and this is the thing. It's gonna get all the fucking like horror movie users on Twitter so fucking riled up, and they're gonna be posting about, oh my god, what a change for the Oscars! They awarded a horror movie in a category, and I'm just like, oh, you are the worst kind of people. Like, yes,
yeah.
I like my horror movie stuff. I just hate how I see stuff where people are like, oh, give the horror movies their own category at the Oscars, and I'm like, no, no, let's not do that.
No, that's
That's
not the
that's that's
solution.
that's fucking stupid. Like giving films to animated movies makes sense. Giving films to, non-English films makes sense. Giving them to documentaries makes sense. Horror movies, no, they're just movies. Like this isn't
Yeah.
the MTV Awards. This is the Oscars. They're not
Mhm.
gonna just give an award to the Oscars, and it's like, and I just find horror movie people who like massive horror movie fanboys to be so irritating because
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
this is their personality is, oh, I like horror
Mhm.
movies. It's just like I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, cool. Do you have is there something else about you? And like, no, I just really like horror movies. But they don't even like watch like classic horror movies from like the 70s and 80s. It's just like every new horror film that ever gets released. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
just this whole thing. So if Demi Moore wins, which it seems likely that she probably will, and if The Substance were to win screenplay, which it maybe could, but I'm not counting on that yet
It's definitely not that likely. Not to jinx
because
it.
I
But
believe WGA awards were today.
yeah, they happened. Honora won, of course, which the
Yeah.
substance wasn't nominated, but
But I give The Substance an 8. It's a very
I would
low 8.
agree. Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do like it. It's just people are clearly seemingly seeing something more that I don't think is there.
Yeah, I would agree it's an 8. It's a very fun movie, well
Mm.
done, and like I enjoy the space it's holding. Wait,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to reference Wicked. That was completely on accident. But I enjoy the space it's inhabiting like
Mm.
in the Oscar.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want Demi Moore. I don't really want Demi Moore to win. I wouldn't hate it, but I don't want it. But I enjoy that it's
Yeah.
like an Oscar
And
movie.
I do appreciate that it is something a bit different getting
Yeah,
nominated.
it's
I
kind of
I
fun and exciting. Yeah,
I'm kind of on board with that. All right, what do you think's is next?
it's a Nora next, right?
It is. It is Anora
Ah,
next.
yes.
34.5 million on a budget of 6 million. So, that's pretty good. Anora, the Palme d'Or winner that gets not it seems
Hmm.
like every year the Palme d'Or winner gets nominated for Best Picture now. I think the last 3 years now technically the Palme d'Or winner has been nominated for Best Picture
Hmm.
because it was Anatomy of a Fall the year before or last year, and
And
then there was
Triangle of
Triangle of Sadness. But
Sadness.
then, yeah, Parasite got nominated.
Yeah.
Amore, I believe, Amore won the Palme d'Or.
Yes.
Pianist, I think, won it. Apocalypse Now, all that
The
jazz.
Tree
Like,
of
there's
Life.
Tree of
Yeah.
Life. Um, yeah. Yeah. So, Palme d'Or winner. I mean, I think probably the most critically liked film of the year. I'd say.
Yes.
It's certainly up there. It's certainly like top three. Probably. I mean, I'd say it's probably the most critically. I think if you were to compile everyone's like top tens, it's probably going to be in a lot of people's like favorite. Certainly in
Yeah.
their like top three. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we know some people who don't like this film.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm just gonna say straight up, I love this film. It is at the time of recording, it is my favorite film of the year.
Hmm.
I think it's a remarkable piece of work. I had watched Florida Project and I think Red Rocket before.
Mm-hmm.
Just sort of to in anticipation, I guess, and I quite like those. But this is much better than both of those. I think Anora is. It was some of the most fun I had at the cinema when
Mm-hmm.
I saw it. It was like a pretty packed screening. Every joke was landing. We thought it was cinema singing it in. We thought it was hilarious. It's
Mm-hmm.
great, absolutely great time. And yeah, I think it's no, I mean not just one of my favorites of the year. I think it's one of my favorites of the decade. I think it's I wouldn't say it's like a masterpiece of a film, but I would say it's a really great film.
Quite easily my favorite of the lineup. Definitely
Mhm.
one of the very best movies of the year for me. It definitely stands out. Not to make the most obvious comparison with Neon and Palme d'Or and
Mhm.
um, and third place at TIFF and likely picture win, but
Mhm.
it matches well with Parasite in that it's like it's one of the most fun movies you could watch in any given year. Um, with
Yes.
how high energy and funny it is, but there's also a serious like genre bending, tone shifting element to it. Ends up digging very. I wouldn't say Anora is like the deepest movie ever made, but um, it's it digs very strongly in terms of like its attitude
Mhm.
into
Yeah.
capitalism and the rich and ultimately ends up on a pretty on a pretty
Mm.
emotionally devastating note.
I've
Um,
seen a lot of I think the film it's really funny for a lot of it, but
yeah,
then that final scene. I'm not gonna go into
yeah,
spoilers if you haven't seen it, but the final, as the scene sort of started, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, and then the last like 10-15 seconds, I was like, oh, this is
yeah.
that brought the film together really well for me.
Mhm. Yeah, each act is like more serious than the last, and then just
Mhm.
like goes further and further down the hole. And I would
Yes.
actually, and I would also very much compare like the thematic, um, the thematic usage of the final shots of both Parasite and Anora. They really stand out together in my mind of
Mhm.
like a final shot that suddenly it just like clicks everything into place and
Mhm.
it doesn't even have to say anything. It's just
Yeah.
like you're just like, oh, like
Mhm.
this is a very hopeless situation. um
Yes.
and about and both, I mean, both movies are about working class, not to just compare them the whole time, but because Anora is obviously also very much its own movie. But working class people thinking they've like quote unquote struck the jackpot, but then ultimately the system and the elite just won't let them stay on top. It's at times very romantic, at times very funny, at times
Mhm.
euphoric almost. Like I think everyone always references the same sequence in Anora,
Mhm.
in Vegas, where it's
Mhm.
like you're kind of like floating on a cloud, but then it's also very frank and honest and emotional and
Mhm.
quite hopeless in the end. And I know people have also raised not concerns, criticisms over Annie as a character and how she's kind of
Yeah.
how she's kind of lacking in agency in the situation she's in. She can't
I
really
mean,
do a but
I don't
and
know if
I'm
I agree with
and
that.
and I mean I get why you wouldn't necessarily one might not want to watch a movie where the main female lead is kind of at the mercy of quote unquote the system, but also
Mhm.
beyond her existence as a woman. I think it speaks very strongly to how the working class at large both Annie, but also all the guys around her. Igor, Toros, the one I always forget the name of. um, that's not Vanya. Very
Yeah.
much the her fellow, not fellow, but other working class people of
Yeah.
society. They're all like mice trapped in the same maze, is what
Mm.
the gist of the movie
Yeah.
is, I think. um,
I've sort of been reading stuff about Honora, and I think like I don't really get the complaints of like the film sidelines Honora, because I really don't think it does. I know, some people are like, oh, it focuses too much on Igor, and I'm like, I don't know if it does. Like, we
yeah, I
get
don't.
more scenes with Annie than we do with Igor. Like, yeah, he's in the background of some shots, but the camera is never like focused on him. We never see things from like his perspective. Like, Annie is the protagonist. She is there. Like, every scene, basically,
Yeah,
she is there. We are following her. There's no scene
yeah,
that she isn't in, from my
yeah,
memory. Like, she's basically in every scene, and I don't think. And I mean, I don't know if I get this. The sort of the idea she doesn't have agency, because it's like, well, she kind of. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like hard for her to be sort of
right.
have a
Like
bit
she
of
does.
agency, because
Yeah,
like she's
yeah,
essentially a prisoner, like
yeah. I mean,
essentially.
personally, I think she does what she can.
Yeah,
Um,
I think she.
and
I don't know. I didn't. I mean, maybe I'm just coming at this from the perspective of a man, but it
yeah,
it,
I
it, it
mean,
didn't read as like sexist. Well, to me, it didn't read as that
yeah,
as this sexist film. And I know, look, and I understand some people. Sean Baker has liked some things and follows some things on Twitter that aren't, like great, which I do find a bit weird though, because like Tangerine is like about trans prostitutes, if I understand correctly,
yeah,
which is just so weird that he can make that film and then simultaneously be like Republican as what like a conservative. Like, I just find that very interesting. But
yeah.
I don't think the film is like I've seen complaints sort of from people saying that the film sort of it's I don't know if misogynistic is the word I would use, but it treats women badly and it's sort of
Mhm,
regressive and that kind
yeah,
of thing. And I don't think it is. I think like
mhm,
and not to say that I'm right or that my opinion's more valid or whatever than someone else's. I just think that I think the film I think there's a bit more nuance to the film
mhm,
and discussing what it's about than I
right.
think some people would have it think it is. I think some people on both sides, I'm going to be honest, I think some people on both sides are taking the wrong points from this
Yeah,
film. Because there's
yeah,
some sexists who like Denora and like women shouldn't, they don't get it. And I'm like, okay, well, you're
yeah,
wrong as well. I like, there's
yeah. There's
people on
definitely
both sides who were,
there's definitely a wrong. Yeah, there's a
and I
wrong
know,
way to
like,
support the
both,
movie. Yeah,
yeah, and I know there's
yeah,
the both sides in it argument, which people like hate, but like I think there are people who don't like Anora who I think are being unfair to it. I think there's
hmm,
people who do love Anora who also don't get it. I think it's not a black and white
yeah, for sure.
this, and I think
It's
that I don't. Yeah, I never
mhm,
felt for one moment the film sidelined. And I mean, honestly, Honora is Mikey Madison, the performance of the year, as far as I'm concerned. I thought she was
mhm,
phenomenal in it. I remember, so I've sort of seen her in things. I saw her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where she gets her face bashed in, I think, by Brad Pitt, which is just did it so terribly now. Like, it's just really uncomfortable to watch that scene now because, like, we know what Brad
mhm.
Pitt's done, allegedly. And then she was also in Scream, which she also gets killed in. And then I just saw her in this, and I was just like, this is a star-making performance.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, she is going to be getting offers, you know,
hmm,
every studio is going to be like, hey, come here. We want to make it. Like she's going to be getting offers, and I think she deserves it. I think she's the performance of the year for me. A contender for performance of the decade. I know some people are like, oh, I don't know about that, but if I'm going to say this, if Mikey Madison were to somehow win, she would be the best lead actress Oscar winner of this decade for me. I like, look, Emma Stone's great, but Mikey Madison is just a bit better though. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, it's built around her, and I mean the best reactions were when she's just fucking insulting. She's just fucking insulting everyone, and like at the house, like she's as some people say, when she's dragging other people, as the kids say these days for some reason. I don't know why, but that's what people say. When she's just yelling, and she's the line that got the biggest laugh, I think, was when she says like they're on the phone, and he's like, "Go fuck your mother, you motherfucker!" Like, and the whole theater just fucking blew up, and we're just like, "Oh, that's a great line." And Brooklyn accents, I guess, just make things funnier. And I mean, I think she's definitely the best performance. I like the other actors too. I think they're all doing a good job, but like Mikey Madison is the best performance of the film, I'd say. I do find it weird when I hear people say there are performances better than Mikey Madison in it. I'm like,
that doesn't make sense. But
no, that's a bit weird to me. Like people who are like, this was my favorite performance, and it's not Mikey Madison. I'm like, okay. Like I don't think I've talked to anyone who actually like loves Yuri Borisov's performance and think he's like Oscar worthy, even though the Academy does. I know a lot of people love Karen Karuglian. Is that
Kara?
Yes, him.
Yeah.
Which I liked his performance. I was severely distracted the entire runtime by the giant mole he's got in his face. I was just severely distracted by that. I was like, my god. It's like that scene in Austin Powers. Austin Powers, he's trying to watch that guy, but he's just distracted by this guy's giant mole in his face. But I thought it was a phenomenal film.
For sure. Yes. Mikey Madison is quite amazing. Definitely deserves the win in my book. And I think the ensemble is all around very strong. Mikey Madison is like the star of the show.
Yeah, I'd say it's the film of the year for me.
Yeah, it's definitely
Eidelstein. Is that how you pronounce it?
Eidelstein? I think it's Eidelstein.
Eidelstein, that makes
Eidelstein.
I also quite liked him, but people. Yeah, some people liked him. Some people like, oh, he's just an attractive twink, and that's why people like him. Like, well,
I mean, he does what I think performs the role well.
It's an amazing performance, but I think he works in that part.
Yeah, he does the role well of being a little asshole. Yeah,
but I think it's a very great film, very very great script. The direction I didn't think was like amazing. I don't know if I need a Sean Baker win for director.
I mean, visually it's, but I mean, it's Sean Baker at the height of his well-honed style, I would say. Like, this is always how he makes movies, and it's pretty dynamic. And I mean, in terms of direction, like overall vision comes into the fold too, and it's not the most visually crazy movie ever, but also you incorporate, the ability to switch between tones and genres, and like it's definitely an achievement of directing. So like I can get behind the win for sure.
And I mean the film is definitely shaping up to be, it looks like it is the front runner to win best, because it's won PGA and DGA
and WGA,
and now it's won WGA like today. So even if it didn't win SAG or BAFTA, I still think it can. I wouldn't like.
It would have to be a historic upset at this point.
Yeah,
because
and everyone says like, "Oh, what about Coda?" And I'm like, "That doesn't count. That was a one-time freak occurrence. Okay, we don't. That doesn't matter."
And
You know,
Coda still won almost all of the guilds, so like it was a freak
yeah,
occurrence, but it was obvious that it was
yeah,
happening.
exactly. And I
Um,
mean, Honora is they're looking to win
mhm.
potentially 4. I mean, probably not,
I
but
mean,
it
there's a
could.
world where it wins like 5 Oscars. I'm not saying it's going to by any means, but
I
like
mean, it's gonna win picture and director.
director,
Screenplay
screenplay,
seems. I feel like
there
it would be weird if it didn't win screenplay at this point.
it's that just doesn't make any sense. I think people are stupid and need to stop with the
And I mean,
substance.
maybe it could win
I'm
editing, but I'm not like banking on that happening. But yeah, my favorite film of the year. I love it.
mhm.
I give it a 9 out of 10. I think
Yes, I would
it's very good.
also give it a 9. Yes.
Yeah, no 10 out of 10s this year, but don't have them very often in general. So yeah, I've got 4 left.
How much money did Amelia Perez make? I don't even remember. Let me say this is gonna be where I'm wrong. Um, it's I think it's either The Brutalist or I'm Still Here. I know I'm Still Here already has like $25 million or something. I can't remember how much The Brutalist has exactly. Let me say The Brutalist, and I'll probably be wrong, but
No, you are correct. It is The Brutalist.
yeah.
The Brutalist was, yeah, another film that a lot of people were saying was going to be like a big picture thing. I wasn't convinced on it initially, and then it
Hmm.
came out at Venice, I believe, and
Yeah.
was just immediately showered with tons and tons of praise. So I saw that. That's one of the last ones I have seen. I saw an early screening of it back in January because it didn't come out here properly till late January.
Hmm.
I was very much on the back foot with the film before I saw it because it's, you know, 3.5 hours. And I'm very picky about film runtime. There was an intermission halfway through, which
Hmm.
I was on board with. I'm like, okay, cool. More movies should do this. And I was like, I had to see it in the cinema because I feel like it's not gonna work as well if I see it at home.
Right.
So I kind of was like, I feel like I have to kind of see it in the cinema. And I saw it, and I quite liked it. I definitely preferred the first half to the second half, but
Hmm.
on the whole, I thought it was really very good.
The Brutalist, it's definitely an achievement.
Mm,
You know, on the budget and what they achieved technically, with or
yeah.
without AI. um,
Oh,
um,
the another controversy, the AI
yes.
controversy. Which I'm gonna be honest, the AI controversy was like such a nothing thing to me. Is like,
I mean,
okay,
it's very minimal. So,
it's like
like,
it's not like they, made stuff with, like, they just sort of fine-tuned the accents a bit and they used AI designs to inspire the artist on what to make. I don't,
yeah, whatever, you know.
yeah, who the,
But yeah,
yeah,
I think The Brutalist is technically quite stunning, and it's a very long movie, but it's edited well and paced well, and the performances are all great.
mhm. Oh God,
Of
yes, that
well,
performance, yeah.
actually, no. I let me backtrack. The
Oh,
performances
here
are
we
not
go.
they're not all great, but overall, they're great.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder
um,
which performance you're talking about. Isn't that great? I wonder. It will be the performance
no,
of
she's
everyone.
good. She's yeah, it's technically well done. The performances are strong.
Mhm.
Brody definitely should be winning on the merit of his performance.
Yeah, it was.
Pierce
Yeah.
Pierce is very very good, and yeah, I think it's a well done movie.
Mhm.
The themes are fairly compelling, and it definitely feels reminiscent of classic sweeping epics
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
American
This.
dream.
Yeah. Does scream
Um,
of like this is the kind of film that would have swept the Oscars like 50, 60 years ago. Like
yeah,
it is that
it
kind of
feels
film.
it's yeah, it's very of The Godfather. But I guess like there's so much about it that I respect and like and quite love. Um, I agree with you that the second half is weaker than the first.
Mm.
And ultimately for me, which is where my hot take, I guess, kind of comes in with the Brutalist, is that I definitely like it quite a lot. I think it I think it wears influences on its sleeve very strongly. It doesn't necessarily bring anything new or hugely interesting to the table thematically.
Yeah.
It's I think the second half is where that really comes to a head, because the second half is it's very overtly horrific. um
Oh God, yeah.
and it's not a bad thing by any means. Like,
Yeah,
it's
that
not
that that
bad that
scene in the cave.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God, that was
It's not it's not bad. The second half of the Brutalist is
no, yeah.
very intense, and it
Mm.
gets its point across for sure. But I feel like Brady Corbet, um, he kind of substitutes unique insights into the American dream that he doesn't really have, with kind of just like an intense, like edgy, an intense edginess that shocks and awes you. Um,
Mhm.
um, and like, it's effective in the moment for sure, but
Mhm.
I don't like love every scene of the second half.
Yeah. No, I
Especially
yeah.
especially that moment in the cave. Like,
I
obviously it's not a good moment. No, like,
yeah, it's not
obviously,
meant to be a pleasant thing to
no,
watch, but
it's
it
not.
just felt so unnecessary. It just felt
It's under yeah. It's
completely out of nowhere.
understandably it's understandably unpleasant, but it's just like so abrasively like, this
I
guy is evil,
yeah.
and I get it. I like, yeah, he's evil and sure, but it comes up, yeah, it feels
It
very
it
random.
feels like I'm not a
And
fan of using that as
yeah,
like a
it feels
it's very rare that that kind of thing happens in a
feels
film where it
warranted.
doesn't feel in
Yeah.
poor taste. Like, it's so rare that that doesn't feel a
Yeah.
bit in poor
No, I
taste.
agree. And I
It just
think
it was I was just sitting there and I was just watching it, pretty packed theater, and then the thing starts to happen, and it was I was just like, okay, nobody move. Like, we just know what happened. It was just so uncomfortable to,
Mhm.
and like,
Yeah,
obviously I
it's
get that it is, but like it just
yeah.
doesn't feel like it doesn't
Yeah.
really feel necessary. I feel like the film kind of already explained like why this guy wasn't a great guy.
Obviously, yeah.
I
Yeah, and
just
that's
think
my
yeah. It seems like a cheap shortcut to being like,
no,
oh, how do we
that's what
show
I
this guy's a bad person? Oh,
yeah.
they do this
That's
thing.
my that's my core issue with the Brutalist, especially in the second half. It's not that anything it shows is it like, it doesn't show things are shown that make enough sense. And it's like, yeah, this is a bad thing that's happening. These are bad people, blah 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 blah. Whatever. That's fine, I guess. But I think the film cheapens its thematic takeaways when it insists on like watering down every like facet of like racism against immigrants, and
Mhm.
the capitalist class squashing everyone down into
Yeah.
like these very overt cases of like debauchery. like
Yes.
like
Yes.
this is a bad situation because these really disgusting things are happening. Get it? It's awful. And that it's effective in the moment, but
Mhm.
I don't think it achieves anything thematically. Like, if anything, it just kind of not ignores, but it kind of glosses over the more quote unquote realistic systemic issues that exist in the United States, where people can be oppressed through more covert means, and like, it's not super obvious that they're being victimized by the
Mhm.
system or by people, but it's still happening. Whereas this, it feels cheap. Like, I don't think it achieves anything unique it doesn't offer any unique ideas about the American dream or capitalism or race or
No.
xenophobia. It's just kind of the most aggressive iteration you could imagine.
Yeah.
And at what cost? I don't really know.
Yeah, it
Like
doesn't.
it's
Yeah, I mean,
but
the scene in the cave. It's like, yeah, if you're gonna
yeah,
do that, you really, really need to justify that being
yeah.
done.
And that's obviously
And I
that's
don't
like
think the film does.
that's
I
like
think.
that's like the pinnacle of the film's tastelessness.
Mm,
But I do think there's other elements in the final act that it's like, did we really have to go this far to prove a point? Like
mhm.
you're kind of just ignoring the bigger picture at this point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
overall, I think it's a strong film overall, technically
Yeah. No. Definitely.
excellent. The first half is very, very good. And,
Yeah.
I like it quite a lot. It's just I take a decent amount of issue with how it approaches trying to be quote unquote unique in the final act, where it tries to
Yes.
differentiate it. Like the moment it tries to differentiate itself from other epics of that type, it
Mm,
immediately kind of like falls off a cliff because it doesn't know how to say anything without like
yeah.
being like hitting you over the head with how
Yeah.
gross this is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I
how.
know some people labeled the film who hadn't seen it, I don't believe. They labeled the film as Zionist, which it
Yeah,
categorically is not Zionist. Like,
yeah,
you're a fucking idiot if you think it's a Zionist film. Like, Brady Corbet has been very, very open about wanting No Other
yeah,
Land. That's the Palestine documentary
yes,
to get
yeah,
like released. Like, he is very much
yeah,
not a Zionist, and I think if you take that, I mean, everyone was saying A Real Pain was Zionist. Well, not everyone was saying, but I saw stuff where people were like, "Oh, is A Real Pain Zionist?" And like, no, it's just about some
no,
Jewish characters. Like September 5, I remember hearing that it was Zionist, but from my understanding, it doesn't really engage with
yeah. I
that
think
idea.
it's kind of apolitical, if anything, by the
Yeah, which
sounds
is
of
I'm not sure how I feel about that either, to be honest. I haven't seen the film, but that seems a
it.
bit,
Yeah, I haven't watched
yeah.
it, so no comment.
Yeah, I thought first off, the Brutalist was fantastic. I really like it's a 3.5 hour film, and I was never bored. There was never a moment where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
just get on with it. I sat, I stepped outside during the intermission because I needed to stretch my legs a bit. I've been sat there for like an hour and 40 already. But I never felt bored. The runtime, I never felt the runtime. I never. Every now and again,
Hmm.
I did check my phone because I'm like, man, we must be getting close to. Not because I was bored, but just like, how much is left? And I'm like, oh, okay, I've still got.
Hmm.
Jesus, this. But I remember I was like, man, I feel like it hasn't been that long, and I checked my phone, and we were like nearly the better part of an hour into the film, and it's like, Jesus, this is going by fast. And that's
Yeah.
a good sign, if you can watch a long film and it doesn't feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adrian Brody, phenomenal performance. One of the best male performances of the year, I'd say.
Hmm.
I think he deserves the Oscar that he should be winning.
Hmm.
Guy Pearce, fantastic. I love Guy Pearce. And then there's Felicity Jones. Well, I feel like a lot of people don't like her performance, and a lot of people thought she was quite poor in the film. I feel like I've heard people saying that they didn't like her performance.
That has been said, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really get that. I mean, I definitely preferred Pierce and Brody, but I
Yeah.
thought she was good in it. There's that really uncomfortable scene with her and Brody in like bed together, and I was just like, oh, this is very uncomfortable, but like purposely so, obviously. And it felt
Hmm.
like it didn't feel. I mean, I could have done without it, but I didn't. It didn't like. Yeah, it's not like the scene in the cave where the scene in the cave is just like one of the most
Right.
unpleasant things. Maybe the most
Hmm.
unpleasant thing you could do in a film. Whereas the scene with Brody and Jones in like their bed together is just it's a bit uncomfortable, but it doesn't make me feel gross watching
Yeah.
it. Just a bit awkward. Um, yeah, a beautiful cinematography. The score's really great. I mean, I think Brady Corbet should be winning Best Director. Like, just
Mhm.
what he achieved with this film, I thought was just phenomenally good.
Yeah.
I thought, and again, I prefer Nora, but I think the direction of
Mhm.
The Brutalist is more deserving of, um,
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah.
yeah, best
Yeah.
best director. But I'm not that I mean, I love Nora, obviously, but I don't. I feel like there's a chance The Brutalist maybe just wins Best Actor, which wouldn't be unfair because Brody is very very good in the film.
Yeah. I would give it like a strong 7, controversial maybe, but I
Wow,
think
that
it's
oof, that is yeah.
I like
Okay.
there's enough of it where I could justify an 8 with how much I respect aspects of it, but then I also get very annoyed
Yeah,
thinking
no, I
about thinking about
mm,
the second half and how much I don't like aspects of it.
mhm.
Um, so I guess that is what it is, but I think it's pretty strong.
This is the kind of film where it's like Full Metal Jacket in the sense that like the first half is phenomenally good, like some of the
Hmm.
best film like the first half of Full Metal Jacket could be like my favorite film of all time, and then the second half kind of is
Yeah,
just like it's still good, it's just not as good. That's sort of how I feel
yeah,
about this. I
yeah.
think yeah, no, I think I give it an 8. I think it's
Hmm.
really yeah, a really excellent film. And I will be honest, if it, I mean, it's probably not going to, but if it did somehow end up winning Best Picture, I wouldn't be like that upset. I don't think it will,
Hmm.
but it wouldn't be the worst Best Picture win in this decade. I'll say that.
No, no, definitely not.
Yeah, I really like it. But I also am like I probably won't watch it again for a long time because it's very long. But we're getting close to the end. We're down to the last three of the nominees.
And the next highest grossing is, I assume, I'm Still Here.
It is I'm Still Here. Now this is the only nominee this year that I haven't seen because it's not out in this country yet.
Hmm.
So Skylar, you have seen it though, so I will let
Yes.
you take the
Okay.
reins. And basically, this entire section is just going to be Skylar talking. So I hope you're okay with that listening. And if not, then just I guess if you're not happy with that, I guess skip ahead if you want, but like you might miss out on some good moments if you do. But yeah, Skylar, you have seen this, so I'll let you
Yeah,
take the
yeah.
lead.
So I'm Still Here. I don't know how much I'll be able to say on it because honestly, and I don't even mean this negatively, it's kind of just like what you expect, but it's a fairly commendable slash important historical drama rooted in fact about a woman whose husband was in the Brazilian Congress, but he's not anymore. But he gets disappeared away by the military dictatorship and for quote unquote like conspiratorial activity, and then she goes on this years long odyssey of trying to find out what happened slash get the government to admit their wrongdoing. And she also goes through some pretty grueling interrogations by the government and whatnot. And um but yeah, it's a I obviously this movie comes with the bag the immense baggage of, and I don't mean baggage in terms of controversy, I mean the baggage of Brazilians. And
Yeah, I do want to mention I this was incredibly unexpected to me.
yeah,
Um, I predicted that Fernando Torres would get nominated because
yes,
I
me
was
as
gonna be
well.
honest, I didn't know who else to do for the fifth actress spot. I was like, okay, here's the four. Then it's like it's obviously this four, and then like
Hmm.
who was the fifth? Like I know people were trying to make Kidman a thing and Baptiste, and I'm like, yeah, they're
Hmm.
not gonna be a thing. And then yeah, Fernando Torres got nominated. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And then I'm watching the
Yeah.
Oscar nominations, and I'm like, okay, the first like six. This is all I expected. and then they say, "I'm still here," and I just like
Yeah.
head in my hands, like mouth agape. I was like, "What the fuck did they just
Yeah.
do?" And I immediately went. I had to see what some people were saying, and so many people were angry and just like, we need to do an investigation into the academy, like figure out this corruption. And I was laughing because this was just so funny to me.
It
I was
was
just like,
very
this is objectively funny to me. And
yeah.
I was
It
like,
was
yes, I was like, oh man, I was like, Torres getting nominated is gonna make so many people mad, and that'll just be so funny to me. And then it gets picture, and I'm like, this is even better than what I like. This is what I hoped for, and then some. It's so funny, and
Mhm.
I was just like, this is great. Yeah, it was getting
Yeah.
Brazilians. It was getting. It's like number. It's really high on like the IMDb and Letterboxd top 250s. Like
Yeah.
it's really, I mean, and I think it's for the most part only Brazilian people who have actually seen it. Like it's not a
Yeah, largely, yeah.
not there's people outside of Brazil who have seen it, but it's that thing. It happens with a lot of Indian films, like Indian
Mhm.
on like IMDb and stuff. It was like in people from India, they'll just highly rate a lot of like Indian films, so they get like
Mhm.
8 point somethings.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, the picture nomination was shocking. I did call the Torres nomination. It felt
Yeah.
very like something that was
Did
going to happen.
anyone?
Um,
I don't think anyone was predicting. I'm still here. Like,
in picture, no,
yeah, I
I
think
don't think so. There was
yeah,
zero indication it was happening, and we can ponder what Sony Picture Classics did behind the scenes to get that through.
mm,
Um, I'm sure the Globes win did kind of give it some oomph. But
mm,
anyway, the movie, I mean, to an extent, like I said, it's kind of what you expect. I think the Letterbox and IMDb scores are kind of outrageous,
oh yeah.
highly outrageous even.
Let me just check.
Um,
Actually, I do want to see what scores it's on now. Just give me a second.
but I mean, it's unsurprising that that's happening.
Mm.
Every Brazilian movie gets like review bombed with positive ratings, um, so no surprise.
It's currently
Um,
got an 8.8 on IMDb with 72,000 ratings.
yeah, it's kind of what you expect, what I expected. It's certainly a commendable, um, quote unquote, critique of like, fascist dictatorships. And, is about the fragility of democracy and how we have to protect our freedom and fight for what's right. Um, I mean, it's pretty timely for what's going on in the world. And,
It's got a
um,
4.3 on Letterboxd. So
yeah, and that's like with the algorithm dragging it down.
yeah.
um, but yeah, it's a good movie. Like
Mm.
it's well directed. It's put together well. Torres is actually very good in the lead role. I would have preferred Jean Baptiste, but I mean Torres is still better than Arrivo or
Mm.
Gasson, so I'm not gonna like be mad about it. Maybe even better than Moore. I go back and forth. Not gonna lie. Obviously,
Mhm.
Madison's way ahead. Yeah, it's a well done drama. I think Torres really grounds it in a sense of realism. Not that obviously this is a real story. She never like it's a pretty reserved performance actually. She never really carries it into something super huge and bombastic. Um, and I just like how the film kind of de-glamorizes the idea of a dictatorship where like this family is kind of just like living their life in Brazil and like kind of just going with the flow and like the government's awful and then directly targets them but they're like and they do fight back but they're still like kind of living their lives like I do like how it represents it that way. It's not some fantastical situation that you never find yourself in. It makes it seem real and tangible, and I think that's important. But yeah, like, it's a good movie. it has some pretty powerful moments within its structure. Um, I just wouldn't say it's anything surprising. It's based on what I've read. I think it's surprising to a lot of Brazilians because I think actually there's some pretty people. A lot of Brazilian people, from what I've heard, kind of have a strong memory of this period of Brazilian history because of the economic
Mhm,
um, prosperity of
mhm,
like the 70s and 80s in Brazil that really dragged them into the modern era. Obviously, it was at the expense of like mass disappearing and murdering political dissidents.
mhm.
Um, so that's bad. So I think it was surprising to a large number of people, like what it's about and the history it tells. And I think that's important and great that that can happen. But I mean, personally, I wasn't really caught off guard by anything that happened. I'm like, yeah, of course, this is the movie about the dictatorship, and the dictatorship does dictatorship things,
Mhm.
and like
Yeah,
it kind of just goes through the motions of what you'd think it would be of this type
yeah.
of movie. But like, it's well done, and Torres is
Mhm,
really good, and it's done, yeah, like it's a solid good movie with a strong message and all that, good performances, the
mhm,
whole family is good as well. But yeah, it's I like it. I'd probably give it like a high-ish 7. my
mhm.
my my go-to rating today, it seems.
Yeah.
um I definitely, yeah, it's a good movie. I'm not mad about the nomination. I would have preferred a Real Pain, to be honest. Like, it's a good movie. That's that's all I got on it. Really, it's good. It's fairly important, timely, and all that,
Mhm,
but not necessarily shocking in anything it shows or
mhm.
anything like that.
Yeah.
But it
I
serves
mean,
its
yeah,
purpose.
yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I
Yeah.
can't really comment on it.
Is next up our favorite Amelia.
I mean, it is my favorite Amelia Perez, yes, but it's
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I feel like is there much we can add about this conversation? Like, I feel like
No, I
everyone
feel like
has. I feel like
honestly,
this film wouldn't be as hated as it is if it wasn't up for the Oscars.
no, for sure. It's a bad look for the Oscars that this has to be like their most nominated movie, even though 3 of the nominations are fake. And it's like whatever.
Yeah,
What it's not a good movie, but
yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan.
I'm already so exhausted by like reading the discourse and like seeing everybody like post a video essay on how Amelia Perez doesn't deserve nominations. And like, sure, it doesn't. I also am just like tired of like listening to everybody talk about it.
Yes,
um,
I
like
I
it's a bad
really yeah.
it's a bad movie, but more than anything else, it's kind of just too unremarkable in every way to warrant this
That's
much hatred.
it. I think it's yeah, like it's I don't like it. I don't think it's a great film. But like I don't think that it's just like I don't know. I don't like yeah, the hate wouldn't be this high if it wasn't
Yeah,
nominated for best picture and like I mean it's my second least favorite, but I didn't it's not a great film, but like
yeah,
I wasn't like I don't know. I think like yes, it sucks that the first like trans or certainly openly trans acting nominee is a a vile person. Like Sofia
hmm
Gascon is fucking terrible. Like she is not a good person. I don't think anyone is like can dispute that. And she did her
yeah.
ap I say apologies, I don't know if they really were apologies, but she was like, "Oh, but
No.
I'm a minority too, I know what it's like for people to be hateful to minorities." It's like, "Then why the fuck were you fucking hateful to other minorities then? Like, why did you say those, things about George Floyd and BLM and all that dumb shit?" And why? And then you fucking insulted like your co-stars before you made the movie. Like, I don't understand. It's just
Yeah,
so
it's very
she's a
puzzling.
she's a yeah a terrible person. I don't think anyone's disagrees with
Yeah,
that. And I mean, the
yeah,
Oscars had to ditch the Fab Five format they were going to do because they were like, we can't have someone say nice things about Carlos Sofia
yeah.
Gaston because this is just it's not going to be a good look. So maybe that's what we have to do for that format to never come back. Is we just need one actor to
So
just
bad.
be so bad, and they get horrifically cancelled. But I mean,
Yeah.
even beyond that, the film was not particularly remarkable to me.
Yeah, I think it's not good. The music is not good. I mean, it's stylish, but kind of directionless. It doesn't really seem to be saying anything about the trans experience. Really, like a plot device more than anything, but also kind of becomes irrelevant for the most part. Like the cartel stuff is just boring. Like it's a really boring crime drama. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very forgettable. The plot is kind of nothing, and obviously Jacques Audiard, Audiard, I I probably butchered that awfully. Audiard. He
Is a dick
obviously,
and is
yes,
just
he approached this whole thing with like no research or anything, and it probably does show. Mexicans hate the movie, and they're probably valid for that.
I feel like trans people also probably don't like the movie.
No, they don't. Americans don't like
Musical
the movie.
People who like musicals don't like the movie.
No, nobody really likes the movie except Europeans and the festival people and the industry.
Looking at my review because I really cannot remember this film, and I used the quote. I put a quote in my review saying,
You can't just have your characters announce how they feel. That makes me feel angry.
because
Yeah.
that's all I could take from the lyrics while watching it. Was just they're
Yeah.
just saying how they feel. There's no
Yeah.
depth or subtlety to it. And apparently, I felt that there were different stories jammed together to create a narrative.
Yeah,
Which,
definitely.
yeah,
It's all over the place. And I mean, I get you can like kind of say like, oh, it's supposed to be like an opera, and operas are like over dramatic, and but it's just not good in any fashion. And I don't know. It's like not it's not good, but it's not remarkably terrible. Like honestly, like Saldana's solid.
it is
um,
a decent performance in
yeah,
a sea of
like
bad performances.
it's not a it's not a good film. It is a bad film. It's
Mm.
not like a 1 out of 10 film, but it's like
It's not a good. Yeah,
it's just unremarkably
yeah. I don't
forgettable
really have
more than
much
anything
to
else.
say on it.
And it just exists, and it's kind of the epitome of like I don't want to say this, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but it's like kind of the epitome of like, white Hollywood being like kind of
Mm.
vacuously liberal and being like, oh, this
Yes.
is the trans musical that we like, because it's important,
Mm.
but really they can just watch it without thinking about anything and like have fun. And that's the extent of it. Like there should be films about the trans experience, and there are films about that. And there's certainly ones that came out this past year that deserved way more recognition than they got. But yeah, Amelia Perez, it's vacuous and
Mhm.
ridiculous and all of that, and it's bad. And
Yeah, I mean, I give it a 5, which I feel
I
like is a
would,
bit generous of me, but
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I give it a 4. So it's
yeah.
my least favorite. It's probably the worst picture nominee of the decade so far. Well, I know you wouldn't say that, but I would say that.
I mean,
Um,
I'd probably go Elvis, to be honest. I
I
still
mean,
Elvis.
fair enough. I don't really dislike Elvis. I just don't care.
The final film of this episode.
Nickel
Yeah,
Boys, yeah.
yeah. I was not convinced this would get nominated at a certain
Me
point. I
neither.
did predict it, but I
Me
was
too.
like, this is like 10th.
Yeah,
Like this
it
is,
was not
and
safe.
I thought like if this gets snubbed, I wouldn't be surprised. I saw this sort of towards the end of 2024. I was fortunate enough to get a screener from someone through
Me
Charlotte
too.
because I was like, "That's not the film's not going to release in this country," because they, for some reason, MGM, Amazon, they're really bad at releasing films here. It's really irritating to me. Like
Mhm.
American Fiction didn't come out here until like after the Oscars, so I had to find another way to watch it last year. But yeah, Nickel Boys. I wanted to quickly just first off touch on the cinematography because I
Yeah.
know a lot of people have been saying it's so innovative, it's so creative, and I'm just kind of like, I like the idea of doing the POV camera angles and everything, but like it's not that innovative. Like I've seen films and not film, but I've seen stuff do the POV camera before. I just think
Yeah.
like it's probably a lot of Americans saying that because they don't watch British comedy TV. So they think,
Mhm.
and it's just like I like it's not that in it. Like yeah, I love the cinematography. I think it's great, but it's not that innovative. I just like that's just the
Mhm.
thing I just wanted to touch on.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I get that. It's not, I mean, it's pretty one of a kind for an American, you know, indie film to achieve that. But I mean, not groundbreaking in the traditional sense, but it's definitely a very cool style and it looks great. And I think for the most part, it's used to the film's advantage. Like the way it plays with perspective is very intriguing and compelling. I think I really quite love Nickel Boys. I do go back and forth between how much do I actually love the story, how much am I like kind of enamored by the way it's filmed and relayed. I don't know exactly. I think it's overall very, very, very powerful. I mean, everyone talks about the final moments of the film and how it's like so emotional, and I can definitely corroborate that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the film ultimately is extremely effective in terms of kind of putting you in the shoes of the situation and making you feel complicit in like these awful horrors being committed.
Yeah, I think it
And
does a really good job at. Yeah, it puts you in the moment because if you've got like sort of films like this about sort of oppression of black
yeah,
people, they don't always put you. You
yeah,
can feel a bit detached of like
yeah,
you're just sort of watching it, but this you are like you are the viewer. You as a viewer are put in
yeah,
the
yeah. You're forced to confront it literally head on. And
yeah.
I think there's definitely a lot of power that is gleaned from that. Um, I had another another point and then I forgot. um, some have called the style a gimmick, and like I get it, but I do think it serves a strong function in terms of how it
Yeah.
plays with the perspective and how it serves the themes and makes you, puts you in the shoes and makes you feel firsthand all this awful stuff, and it doesn't feel, I know some have said it feels detached in the process of trying to be not detached. I don't really feel that way. I think it's a very, powerful and powerful film. There are elements to like the writing that I wasn't always like wowed by, where it kind of felt a bit explainy. Have obviously never been in a situation like this, and I can imagine why people would frankly discuss their oppression while being oppressed.
Mm.
So I'm not. I also can like rationalize it that way. Like as a filmmaking, as a film telling me a story, I was like, that seems a bit clunky, maybe. But then as like quote unquote recreation of something that happened, it's like, well, also this might be how people would just behave in this situation. Um,
Mhm.
although perhaps more than, along with the perspective, the one aspect that really impressed me and felt really unique was kind of how, and I kind of mentioned this with I'm still here actually, but it the way it focuses on the POV you get a lot of downtime in between these like really intense events where these characters are kind of just like chilling and hanging out. And I think that deglamorizes the idea of like racism and atrocity in a compelling way, where you have like these awful actions juxtaposed with like some like teenage boys like hanging out and like doing what, like playing a game or talking about a book, or and like it's not even that they don't know these awful things are happening, but these awful things are happening and then they're just like kind of existing in powerlessly within this situation, like doing casual child things that they do for leisure fun.
Yeah, I think the performances I thought were quite good. I did really like it. It sort of was starting to lose me a little bit towards the end of the film. I was like really into sort of the film when it was starting. Yeah, as it went on, it started to it lost me a bit. And I didn't really get I don't know how I felt about the archival footage they were sort of slotting in at
Oh
sort of
yeah.
various points in the film. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't dislike it per se. I think the film, it does sort of start off really strong, and it does sort of as it goes on, it sort of loses a bit of its power as it goes on. Because at a certain point, it's like, okay, I've seen all these bad things. It sort of is
Uh-huh.
reaching a point where it's like, okay, I get the point. I feel like you're sort of maybe overextending it a little bit too much
Uh-huh.
for me.
I mean, I get it. It's like, and I kind of grapple with that too, not to that extent, because I think it's really good. But then it's like, I grapple between like, it's how almost at times it feels like kind of clinical, where it's like, you can very easily appreciate the formalism of it and like the message it's sending and the quote unquote experimentalism. And it feels like like a film whose importance precedes everything else, and that's not like a bad thing. But then there's a degree to which I like feel like the emotion of the film hasn't stuck with me. Maybe a rewatch would just solve that. Maybe I just haven't seen it in a little bit and I've lost some of that. But then I'll like think about it. I'm like, oh, well, actually, this scene was really powerful. This scene, like, I don't know, it's weird. It's like,
Mm.
I like appreciate the emotion and power of it intellectually, even if it didn't always hit me super heavily, like in my gut. But
Mhm.
outside like the final parts, yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to like bring it all together in my head, I guess. Like
Mhm.
rating wise, I kind of fluctuate between like an 8 and like a really low 9, because it's like I really love so much of this, and I think so much of it is really powerful and beautiful and just like really ambitiously done, and like how it plays with perspective and juxtaposes its different tones is really impressive and cool. And like I really thought the zone of interest was quite masterful, and this is so much like that. But then there's like a little bit of a detachment that I've never fully been able to get over, and feeling like the story is a bit too.
There isn't much of a story in the film.
Yeah, I would, and I get why that's the case too. So I kind of grapple all the time with how much I love it and how much I respect it. Well, I do respect it, but how much I love it in relation to how much I just respect it. But I do think it's very good and quite original and very compelling and all of that. In the end, it probably is my second favorite. I
Mm.
definitely love Honora much more unconditionally, emotionally, and it's more entertaining, of course. Not that Nickel Boy should be entertaining, but that's kind of how I see it at the
Yeah.
moment, I guess. I really do, respect and cherish Nickel Boys for what it represents, and it does a lot of things extremely well. But yeah, I think it's very great. Um, Sometimes I just wonder, and I haven't fully resolved that with myself, how much I like connect to it emotionally.
Yeah, I mean, I give it an 8 as well.
Mhm.
Um, that could change possibly on a rewatch, but I do maybe down to a 7, not up to a 9. I don't think it's a 9
Mhm.
out of 10 because there isn't quite enough plot, but I
Yeah.
did really enjoy it. I thought the cinematography did give it an interesting flavor. And I just thought it was really, really good. Do you want to do a ranking of the 10 films if you want?
Sure.
I'll just do mine now because I haven't seen all of them. So we're gonna go from worst to best. So
Mhm.
Dune Part 2. Fuck it, I
Mhm.
don't care. I don't like it. Yeah, Dune Part 2. Amelia Perez, A Complete
Mhm.
Unknown, Wicked, The Substance, and I'm quite happy with this top 4 here. This top 5 actually I'm quite pleased with. Goes So yeah, Substance, The
Yeah.
Brutalist, Nickel Boys, Conclave, and Honora.
So for me, I would say, starting from the bottom, Amelia Perez, A Complete Unknown, Wicked, Conclave, Dune Part 2, controversially for you.
Mm.
But I could have kind of reversed those two, I guess. Maybe one day, maybe, I don't know. They're kind of interchangeable. And then The Brutalist. And then I feel like I'm forgetting one. um, oh, wait.
Honora?
Wait. Nope. I'm Still Here. And then The Brutalist.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then The Substance. And then Nickel Boys. And then Honora. And I think that's
Mhm.
all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to quickly touch on a couple other categories. The
Mhm.
acting and directing kind of don't need to go into as much as we kind of talked about.
Yeah, we kind
But
of covered them
nominees already.
mostly.
I just want to say though, Jeremy Strong getting a nomination for The Apprentice is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Kieran
And then,
Culkin getting nominated is also really great.
yes, and he should win
He should.
deservedly. He's probably winning, and he probably
I
should.
think I'd pick Jeremy Strong over Culkin personally.
Fair enough.
I'd
Fair enough.
also argue Culkin should be in lead, but that's whatever.
Fair
Um,
enough.
but yeah, also Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice. That's a
Yeah,
fucking sick nomination as well,
yeah,
because I didn't think that would
yeah.
happen.
I predicted it. I'm happy he got in. I think he's the second best in the category, but I am sad it came at the expense of Daniel Craig.
Category I really want to talk about is Best Animated Feature, because I've seen all the
Hmm.
nominees here. A bit of a weak lineup for me. I really was not impressed with this bunch of nominations. Only one of the actually no, I like two of these. One of these songs I quite like, and the other one I think is pretty solid. But then the
Hmm.
other three I'm just like no, and one of them I actually think is quite bad. I don't
Yeah,
know how you feel about the lineup, but
I mean, I'm not like that passionate about it. Um,
mm,
I, I'm a pretty big Memoir of a Snail fan. That's probably
that's
my
my
favorite.
that's my second favorite. I really
Um,
liked it.
yeah, I dig the vibes of it a lot. And I am a Flow fan for sure. It's very nice and vibey. And then, I mean, beyond that, oh, duh. I also really like Wallace and Gromit a
Of
lot.
course, that's my
Um,
favorite one. Yeah,
and I get it. It's very fun and funny and all that.
I
Uh,
those are my top two.
yeah.
Um,
As for The Wild Robot and Inside Out, I just don't really care
The
if
Wild
Wild
Robot
Robot
is just
wins.
annoys me so much because people are acting like
It's
it's a baby
amazing.
movie for babies. Like that's what The
Yeah.
Wild Robot is. It is a baby movie, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's like okay, but people are acting. I've seen people compare it to like Pixar, be like, oh,
Yeah.
this is like the best Pixar film in
It's
years, and it's like no,
yeah.
you're wrong. Yeah, Wild Robot. It annoys me because like it's not a bad film. It's just it's terribly structured though. There were points where I'm like, oh, this feels like the ending. I checked the runtime. Nope, there's another hour of the film. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Terribly
Yeah.
plotted. It's just yeah, not great. Inside Out 2 was also very disappointing. And I watched Flow yesterday and I thought Flow was shit. I know a lot of people like Flow, but I really hated Flow. I'm gonna be like just completely honest here. I didn't like Flow. And don't get me wrong, I love cats. You know how much I love cats. I've got two
Hmm.
cats. They're the best. But
Yeah.
Flow just it did nothing for me. It was so it's just nothing happening. It's just a film with
I
nothing happening.
I honestly do get why you'd just be like, why one would just not have patience for it.
It's that every time I watch a film like this, all I have playing in my mind is the scene in Adaptation where Brian Cox is yelling at Nicolas Cage, like asking why should I care about your movie about nothing. Like that's just how I feel every time this happens. I'm just like, why should I care? And I know a lot of people like Flow, but I don't get it. And I think you're a fan, so I like maybe you can explain it to me because I just did not. I
I
didn't
mean,
get it.
honestly, there's not like it's not like there's a secret to it, I guess. It's it's literally just watching like some animals try to survive the
Yeah.
apocalypse. And like
Mm.
I don't know, it's pretty to look at for the most part, and I don't know, I was personally pretty invested in the animals and I thought they were cute.
Yeah.
and
Well,
I
yeah.
and I think there's some deeper thematic themes, spiritual concepts that like it's hinting at for sure. Like I was just very intrigued throughout and like quite invested in what was going on with these creatures. And then there was like that part where the bird got lifted up into the sky, and I was like, okay, that's interesting and cool. I was just very intrigued by the whole thing, but I also get why one would just be like not having it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it's a film with just nothing. Nothing happens. Like that's just the biggest problem I have is just nothing happens. What is the point? There's no point to this. And that just bothers me. I'm like, why am I like I'm like if I'm watching something I'm like, okay, what is this saying? What is this, why should I care about this? And I know some people aren't like as pedantic about that, but like I
Mhm.
just and that's fine, but it's just like it's just the thing where it's like I can't. There's
Mhm.
no I don't know. I just yeah. And like I like cats. Like, it's easy to get me invested in a cat. Cats are, like the best thing. But like there's just yeah, I saw no reason as to why I should
Yeah.
care about this. So to just quickly give my ratings of those, I give Flow a 4. I give Inside Out a 7. I give Memoir of a Snail a low 8. I give Wallace and
Mhm.
Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul an 8. And I give The Wild Robot a very low 7.
I would say Wild Robot is a 6, and Inside Out is a 6, and then the rest of them can be 8s.
I think that is it for the Oscars. I mean, I think
Yay.
Anora's going to win Best Picture at the moment. I'd be
Yeah, it would.
surprised if it didn't. I feel like even if it didn't win, like at SAG or BAFTA, I don't think that will matter. I
Yeah,
mean, it won.
it would have to be historic,
It
and
yeah, like
I
it
don't
won
see a reason to
DGA,
expect that.
TGA, WGA. It's won like 3 of the main guilds.
Yeah,
I don't know
could
why
win the fourth, and
it could win
yeah,
SAG. I could see it winning SAG. And I mean,
yeah,
if it wins SAG, it's done. It's like just even more confirmation that like it's an aura. It's an aura.
yeah,
It's done.
yeah,
And that's
and
fine because
even
it'll be one of the best winners
it
of
will
the
be
decade
deserved.
and one of my favorite winners just in general. Hoping for a Brody win, hoping for a Culkin win, hoping Madison
Mm,
can just get
just
that
pull through.
just pull through because it'd be such a great win if she did. Supporting actress. I don't know if I'm really that like. I mean, I would
I'm
love it
just
to be
not invested.
Bronte, but like it could be Saldana, and it just like. But I don't
It
care.
probably it probably is just Saldana, and that's fine. I don't.
It's just
I'm
the
just not
problem is
invested.
supporting actress is generally not a great category because the
Yeah,
Oscars are incapable of nominating like 5 actually deserving nominations.
yeah,
There are enough women in the industry to nominate 5 great supporting actress nominations,
yeah. But
and they
instead,
just don't do that.
we just get Emily Blunt and Oppenheimer, and
Yeah,
America
it's like
Ferrera and Barbie.
yeah, like Meryl Streep. If she's been in a film, you can guarantee she'll get in. Nicole Kidman's done something, sure. you know,
Glenn Close
Glenn
in Hillbilly
Close. We'll give
Elegy.
you another nomination, and you're not going to win it, but we need to make up these numbers. Come on, it's just that it's a fault of the industry rather than.
Mhm.
I mean, but also there were like better choices, like
Oh,
Renette Rensiv, I think it's in A
yeah.
Different Man.
Um,
She was great. That would have
Joan
been a very good nomination.
Chen.
Margaret Qualley, for fuck's sake, like, come on. If you're gonna just hand out all these nominations for
Right.
substance, you could have fit Margaret Qualley in there, and it would have it wouldn't have been
Mhm.
weird. Yeah, I mean, is there anything you want to say? Anything you're looking forward to this coming year? Anything you that's gonna come out that'll be up at the Oscars next year?
I mean, Marty Supreme sounds really cool and interesting, so I hope that's great. And also an Oscar player, and what else? Whatever the PTA, whatever the Paul Thomas Anderson movie will be called.
New
um,
Guadagnino,
yeah, After the Hunt.
which it sounds good, but I don't know if I'm convinced on Luca Guadagnino yet. But I'm like, it's got Andrew Garfield, who is
mhm,
phenomenal, Iowa Dibri,
mhm.
who is great. So just I would like it to be good.
And what else? I mean, new Lanthimos, that should be cool.
Mm,
Hope maybe it sounds interesting.
yeah.
I personally have to hope for the massive success of the Paul Mescal double bill of Hamnet and History of Sound.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's right. You're like the biggest Paul Mescal fan I know.
um, Maybe.
That's pretty much it. This is very long, but that happens with these episodes. But thank you for joining me for this week, Skylar.
Of
You
course.
will be on next week, I think, if everything works out.
Yay.
If you still want to. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Skylar. Do you want to plug anything?
I mean, at this point, it's probably redundant, so people can just
Yeah.
check out the other
Yeah.
episodes.
Other episodes we did Pan's Labyrinth. We did Mulan. Oh, Robert Eggers.
Oh, yes, of course.
That's the
Yes.
that's the one we did. Yeah. Thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. It's very long. So this is basically the equivalent of like 2 episodes, so this should hopefully make up for the last couple of weeks not having episodes. This will hopefully make up for that. So yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. Enjoy the Oscars. I hope you enjoy the Oscars. Hopefully they do some good things in terms of who they award it to. And if not, it'll be disappointing. But yeah, thank you all for listening, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.